And let me go back to the beginning. So, as I said before, welcome everybody to our Jamboard webinar today. My name is Derek Lalone. I'm one of the members of the Model School staff. Before I turn it over to Allison Blackwell, what I want to kind of review with everybody is the webinars that we have upcoming for this week. So to jump back in, and you probably already got a quick glance at them, but we have right here Thursday, April 2nd, tools for creating instructional videos. So that'll be hosted by Heather Schaefer. And she will be talking about a lot of the video tools that we have access to out there that will help us create content in this new remote learning environment that we find ourselves in. Thursday at 2 p.m. we have Freckle Learning. So that is Mark Cuss here at the Model Schools team. He's going to be talking about the Freckle Learning platform, and for any of those districts that have purchased Freckle, feel free to jump on board and watch. And then moving into Friday, we have at 11 a.m. We have Allison Blackwell taking on the top 10 Google tips to save your sanity. So really that's just kind of, the tips to help your Google workflow as we find ourselves in the remote learning world. And then finally, Friday at 2 p.m., we have our Questions Over Coffee, which is just a live Q&A session with a lot of the Model Schools coordinators here. We'll be on kind of a live feed session. And for any questions that you guys have or anything that you're getting stuck on, as you're kind of working through different issues, feel free to jump on, throw some comments in there for questions, and we'll do what we can to answer it. So with that, I am now going to turn it over to Allison, and she is going to talk about Jamboard.
Hi everyone, my name is Allison Blackwell, and I'm here to share a little information about Jamboard. So Google released a few years ago an interactive whiteboard called Jamboard. Now, you may not need the whiteboard itself, but Google has made available to you the Jamboard software. It sits amongst our G Suite of tools. So let me share a little information about this for you. So what exactly is Jamboard? It's an interactive whiteboard that serves as a collaborative space. You have the ability to let students think creatively, collaborate together, and also incorporate some critical thinking skills, all in one concise little package. So right now I'm currently in my Jamboard workspace. So let me explain how you can actually create a Jamboard of your own. First and foremost, you can actually go to jamboard.google.com and create your own. Otherwise, if you're like me and need to organize things, I highly suggest for you to go to your Google Drive. In your Google Drive, you can click on that New button, go down to More, and then select Google Jamboard from your list here. You'll notice that as I was annotating what item you would want to select, I used the pen tools over here on the left-hand side. You'll see that you have 4 basic options, so a pen, a marker, highlighter, and a paintbrush, as well as 6 color choices on top of it. So depending upon what you'd like to use, you have a tool for that. It's very basic, but it definitely gets the job done. So besides just going to your Google Drive, you can also go to your Waffle once you're signed into your Google account and select Jamboard. Now, if you log into your Google account and you do not see access to Jamboard on either your Google Drive or from your Waffle, what you may need to do is contact your IT department. This is a feature that needs to be turned on in your Google Admin Console. So whomever is in charge of your Google Admin Console, make sure you reach out to them to have this be turned on. So you'll notice here, I'm actually using Jamboard similar to a presentation style. However, it's not quite that. So instead of calling these slides, we call them frames. And you can see up at the top here all my different frames. So I can jump back and forth to whatever frames I'd like. So as I move forward, I'm just going to highlight a few other things. So with Jamboard, just like any of the other products in our G Suite, such as Google Slides, Docs, Sheets, you do have the ability to put Jamboard in through Google Classroom. So whether you build a Jamboard to serve as a template and you want to put it through that digital copy machine, have a copy for each student, you can do so. Otherwise, you can also add in your Jamboards so that everyone in your class can edit it, or even just specific groups can edit that document. So you'll notice here when I go to add in an assignment, I can actually add in my Jamboard and then select the correct way I'd like to share those settings. Now, I just want to highlight a few little ways in which you can use Jamboard in your classroom. So I'm kind of the type of person that needs to make sure I have my checklists. I want to make sure I have things done, and I get such a satisfaction when I could check it off. So what I've done here is I've taken a to-do list as well as a progression as to how my assignments are being completed or in the process of completed. So this is something that you can actually have your students use on their own individually or even in groups. So let's say we're in a group project and we have to have X, Y, and Z completed. What we can do is have our students join in on this frame and go through and mark off what they need to do, what they're currently working on, as well as what they have completely finished on top of it. So let me show you how we can add information on here. So we've already discussed a little bit about the pen tool. So obviously students do have the ability to write on top of here. And one thing that I forgot to mention earlier is right now I'm in the web version of Jamboard. If you would like to use a mobile device, such as an iPad or a smartphone, you will want to make sure that you download the Jamboard application. The reason why is because you're going to have a lot more functionality and a lot easier of a feel when utilizing the application on your device. So, as I mentioned before, you can sign in or sign on top of this, or I love sticky notes. You'll notice on the left-hand side here, we have sticky notes, Post-it notes, basically, that you can add to your frame. So what I'm going to do is click on that, and you'll notice that you have a variety of colors to choose from. If you're working in small groups, what you could have your students do is select a color to represent them. So in this case, I'm going to be blue. I can now put in the things that I'm required to do or I'm working on for my project in here. So let's say I need to work on the graphic organizer. Oops. I'm going to add that, and you'll notice it saves to my background area here. Now I can keep going, I can change colors, and what's nice is this is a collaborative space. So the minute the kids join, they can select which colors they want, and we can all be working on this at one time. Once I'm finished, I'm just going to hit cancel. You'll notice that it tends to pile up in the left-hand corner here. You'll notice too, as more and more students start to add things, if they add a Post-it and they don't see it quite right away, double check right behind this one. It could be hiding. So always double check that before trying to submit several other Post-it notes. So once your Post-it note has been added, you can move it anywhere within the board. You can use the resize circles here to make it larger. So if there's something that's more pertinent that needs your attention or needs to get completed right away, you can make it a larger size. You also have the ability to click on these three dots and you can edit it. So if you make a spelling error or if you need to add more details, you can do so. You also have the ability to duplicate it. So if it's something that's possibly for more people, we can duplicate and then go in to edit it and change it to the next person's color. So this way we each know exactly that both these people need to be working on that. So another thing I wanted to highlight to you, besides just adding in from one person's account, this is a collaborative space. So what I've done is on my iPad here, I have added from another account my iPad on here, and I am inside of the same document. So what I can do is now, as this second student or another teacher, I can go in and I can add in my own sticky notes as well. So let's say this person needs to work on the interview portion of our project. So you can see it pops up. I can now bring that into the space there where it needs to go. and it will show up for everyone. Okay. I don't know if you noticed, but there's more details on our iPad device or our mobile device application than there are in the web app. So if you notice, when I go to this plus sign here, there is this drive content. This is a feature that is not available in the web version, but it is available in the application. So what I can do is select drive content and search for the document that I would like to add to here. So I'm going to add in my choice board. And by doing this, I can now add my document to our board here. Now, what happens is it becomes a little preview. So it's not linking out to the physical document, but what it's doing is taking kind of like a screenshot and putting it in. So this way it's something to reference. So for in this case, if I just want to let my team members know that this item has been completed and they could see a copy of it, it's going to come up right here. So if I double tap inside, you'll notice that it kind of creates this big screen view. So I can actually click and drag it out or tap and drag it out. And now I'm going to have a bigger version. So now I can leave this in my space and so that others can go through and see that we have now completed that document. So just another little feature that could be added in, but please remember it is not linking to the actual document, just serves as a visual. So if you do need to reference anything that's within your drive to bring it into that space, you can do so. Another thing that you may have noticed is that you have the sticker option. So if I press the stickers option here, I could add in some more details. So we have a little thumbs up, and let's say we want to add some speech bubbles on here. You have quite a few different options to choose from. This way we can get a little fancy. And for you as a teacher, if you are trying, if you are trying to add more information on there, you can. So just to show you, there's our little text, speech bubble, and our little plus sign, and you can see that we now have that in here. So if you're trying to do something from your phone, it can certainly translate onto your Jamboard. So let's move on. One fabulous feature about Jamboard is that you can change the background. Once again, we're a little limited, but up in the top left-hand corner, if I select background, you can see I can just change it based on certain colors. Okay, but my math teachers will rejoice that you have your graph paper in there. So I just kind of wanted to highlight this out because if you're trying to do some plotting, this is a perfect space to kind of do that in. But also I have to showcase the lines as well for handwriting. So on here, what I can do is I can now take my pen tool and let's say we want to go over the length and the width so we can kind of highlight what everything is. And I'm not going to go to too much detail and figure this out and count up the squares, but that can help us when we're using this. So what students can do, they can measure it out, they can write in their information, and then they can even solidify their response with a little sticky note. And there we go. Put that right on in. Okay, so quick and easy for them to access and to utilize those pen tools to reference some of the items that we've put into this space. Now, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with signposts, but this is a great way to have students kind of reflect as they are reading certain passages, reading passages. So in this case, for my Jamboard, I inserted in a passage that I had my students read. And from here, I want them to start thinking about as to what kind of deeper questions they're asking or should be asking based on the character. So here we have some tough questions. And what I did was I actually highlighted certain points that make reference to it. So in this case, our character Bree, she's playing volleyball and she sees her father in the stands and she is not doing great. Well, the father's reaction is not so great. So we're trying to focus on the point as to why are adults so competitive? Why is her father really upset over just a game that she's playing? So in this case, I'm going to have my students go in, highlight those certain text areas that stand out to us that can back up our thought process or to back up our answers. So I can go in, I can select my highlighter, and now select the areas that I wish to recognize. And then what students can do is after they're done highlighting, add another sticky note to basically answer their tough question or put in more detailed information about this, of their thought process. Now here, I'm going to show you again how we can incorporate our mobile device applications along with the web version. So here, we're going to do a little Spanish, and we'll see how great my Spanish is. But on our mobile device, we have the ability to use a forward-facing and a rear-facing camera. So if we want to capture the moment on the fly, we can. Whereas if you're tied down to just a Chromebook or even just a regular laptop in some cases, you're limited to possibly one or no cameras at all. So in this case, I am going to once again join in from my device, and I am just going to take a little selfie here. And I am going to use that photo. And you can see it comes right up into, into our space. So what we can do now is make this a little larger so it's easier to see. Not like we want to make this photo any larger than it needs to be, but I want to start labeling each of my items here. So what I can do is go to my pen tool, and I'm going to select the color and now start clicking and dragging everything here. So I think I have it right. We'll see how my Spanish is. For any of you Spanish teachers, double check my work and let me know if I'm wrong. But you can see how we can easily start to manipulate and to add more details using the cues here. So another thing is, rather than doing your fun little lines, you can even just bring them a little bit closer and maybe even make it a little smaller, just so it's a little bit closer to your techniques here. Now, a few things that I wanted to point out with this is that you'll notice up at the top left, I always have this little undo button. So whenever you forget to do something or do something by accident, click that undo. And one thing to remember when you're in a collaborative space, the person that makes the change is the one that needs to do the undo because it's related to their account and they are the ones that made those editing changes. So don't think if you're in a collaborative space and you see Johnny adding in some details that shouldn't be, you need to actually delete that versus undoing it. So keep that in mind as you are working through. A few things I wanted to also highlight in here. This is the last little tool here is our laser pointer. So if we're trying to show our eyes, you'll notice that it kind of, when you draw, it disappears. So it's kind of giving you a little look and feel so you can grab the student's attention as to what area you are focusing on. So that way students know where exactly to be looking as you're referring to some of the text within here. Another thing to point out with that laser pointer, a let the kids get their giggles out. So possibly do a Jamboard that's not so structured ahead of time, but let them play, just so they could see how things work and you're not in a lesson and then you have like 20 laser pointers going on, which has happened. So let them play. Don't go all in first try. Maybe something to try out first before you do a specific lesson in mind. But just to forewarn you on that one. Another thing that you can do is you can clear your whole frame. Now, this does not clear just your annotations. So as you noticed before, if I had set up before, I had all of my Post-it notes ready to go. Here, it's not going to just clear my annotations. It actually clears the whole entire frame. So keep that one in mind as well. And luckily, we have an undo button to help us with that. Some other options I kind of wanted to show you here, and I'm going to get off my face because I don't think we all need to see my face constantly on there. So on our signpost, some other things that you can do on top of here is up at the top right-hand corner, we have our more actions. So you can rename your document. So if you ever need to rename this, you can. You can download it as a PDF. So by downloading it as a PDF, if you need to refer back to this or you want to keep all the changes that everyone has made with the annotations, download it as a PDF so no one can make any additional changes after that. Or you can just take away the share settings overall. You can even save each individual frame as an image. So if you need to bring this possibly into a PowerPoint presentation, you can do so. Now let me just show you a little bit what that looks like. So if I download it as a PDF, what could happen to it? So you'll see here when I go to open it, it looks just like this. So it looks very similar to what you would get if you would were to export a PowerPoint as a PDF, basically. But there's no room for notes or anything like that. But if you are using this, let's say as a presentation in your class, and you're writing in notes along the way, you can now take this PDF and put it in your Google Classroom to share, send it to parents, whole bunch of different items that you have. And then for the JPEG, it will actually, or for the image, it will export as a JPEG so that you can put it into any slides along the way. Now you can remove a whole frame altogether if you want to, or even make a copy of this completely. So those are just a few options that you have there at your fingertips. But that's basically Jamboard. Very simplistic interactive whiteboard where you can have your students collaborating all at once or even just a few. So I hope you were able to find a few examples that suited your needs, and we'll find this a little beneficial for your classroom. So I would highly suggest for you to either scan that QR code or go to this bit.ly link, mainly because it will bring you to the Google for Education site where they have Jamboard for Education videos, getting started guides. There's even these sample lessons. So if you're looking for a few more ideas to kickstart your usage, I would highly suggest for you to go there. But just be mindful that the actual Jamboard application that you can get on the web and on the device is a little bit more watered down compared to if you were using their board overall. So just want to keep that in your head as to what's available on there. But I would highly suggest for you to check that out. Wonderful videos, shows you how to do everything. Wonderful. So I hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you for joining me and have a good day.